إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونشكره ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. I bear witness that there is no deity to be worshipped but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his servant and his last messenger. My Lord, expand my chest with ease and make my task easy, and loosen a knot from my tongue so that they may understand my speech. This is the dua that Musa alayhi salam made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his way to meet with Fir'aun of Egypt. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our communication an enjoyable one. And I would like to say that inasmuch as we dedicate all our acts of worship, and our meeting today being one such act of worship, I would like to dedicate this part of the series especially to my mother and all the mothers of our community. I would like to start by saying that today we will be talking about that phase of our life when we are in the wombs of our mothers. How do we live? How do we start? What kind of stages do we go through? How exact is the description of the revelation of the Almighty in telling us about our lives in the wombs of our mothers? You will find out with me that all those jewels that are embedded in the treasure we call the Quran, some of them will rise to the surface today, and we will enjoy them so much that we will not let go. We will be holding them in our hearts, and we will share their beauty with all of those who need to see such a beauty. I would like to just take it from where I stopped last time in my presentation so that it will be a continuum. Remember that we were talking about that entity that we call Ar-Ruh. And we said that it is translated as the soul. And we established the fact that it is an entity, although we don't know what it looks like. Where is it? Does it dwell in the heart? Is it in the brain stem? Is it in the entire body? How is it that we heard that things may be alive, but they do not have a ruh in them? The sperm is alive because it is moving, but it does not have a ruh in it. Animals are alive, but the majority of scholars established that animals do not have ruh. So ruh is something that is special to humans. It is something unique. It is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes from our body every time we sleep. And we mentioned the ayat الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها والتي لم تمت في منامها. Allah will capture the souls at the time of death, and if it is not the time of death, He will capture them at the time of sleep. He will hold back those souls that were destined to die during their sleep and let go of those souls that were not destined to die during that phase of sleep until a preset time. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ بِمِقْدَارٍ, that all of us are going to die at a certain time. فإذا جاء أجلهم لا يستقدمون ساعة ولا يستأخرون. That when the preset time comes for death, they can never go further by 1 hour, nor they would be denied another hour of time in their lives. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to make a dua that has been reported by Al-Bukhari, that I hope inshallah all of us will memorize it and we will say it when we go to sleep. He used to say, Allahumma anta khalaqta nafsi wa anta tawaffaha laka mamatuha wa mahyaha fa in amsaktaha farhamha وإن أرسلتها فاحفظها بما تحفظ به عبادك الصالحين. Beautiful. He would say, my Lord, you created my inner self, my soul, and you are the one who will capture it one day. You are the one who determines its death and its life. If you will hold it back, I ask you to shower your mercy on it. And if you will let go of my nafs, I will ask you to protect it and preserve it as you would do that for your good servants. Beautiful. And there is a story that was reported by Ahmad through the authority of Abdullah ibn Qatada to demonstrate how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught his companions that the souls will be captured at the time of sleep. The story goes like this, that one day the companions, or some of them, went on a night journey with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they got tired. So some of them asked if they could retire for a short while to get some rest. So to that request, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam obliged, but he said, I am worried that we may miss the Fajr Salat. To that, Bilal volunteered by saying, don't you worry, O Rasulullah, I will take care of waking up every one of you. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the rest went for a short nap, but they bypassed that time of Fajr, and they woke up after the sun had appeared from the horizon. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Bilal, Ya Bilal, what happened to your promise? He said, Ya Rasulullah, wallahi, I never went into a deeper sleep than what happened to me right now. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive me. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at everyone and he said, you know, Allah had captured your soul whenever He willed, and He let go of it whenever He willed. So it is in His hands. So I would like to say to those who sleep with the intention to wake up for Fajr, with the intention, And there are certain du'as, by the way, if you will say them before you go to sleep, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that du'a your alarm clock. It is tested. It is proven. Even if you go to sleep 1 hour before Fajr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open your eyes to pray Fajr. But let's say that you miss that and you wake up after the sun had arisen. Don't feel guilty, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you your soul back whenever He willed. And I asked you last time to share with me some of the stories about how these souls communicate with each other. How it is a phenomenon that only the believers will come to appreciate. How our souls, when they are liberated from the cage of the body during their sleep, they start to demonstrate what will happen on the day of judgment. It is something that only a believer would enjoy. And I read a couple such stories. My father passed away in 1992. He was in the hospital in Jerusalem for 2 weeks before his death. Every day, my mother, brother, sister, and others would visit him in the morning, then leave around noon so he and they can have their lunch, rest, and then come back in the afternoon to spend more time with him at the hospital. The day he died, he asked something very strange. He said to my mother, and he insisted that she stays with him and not leave to go for her lunch and take her rest, although she asked that he allows her to leave because she needs the rest, as she is an old woman. But he again insisted that everybody leaves except her, that she must stay with him that day. As they were alone in the room, he suddenly told her that he sees them. He sees them coming. And he started reciting from the Quran, and he died. The second story from our brother Basil Abu Khatir. My father-in-law passed away in 1976 in Jordan. I was studying in the United States, and I had my newlywed wife with me. One night as we were going to sleep, I sort of knew that the next morning we will be awakened by a telephone call from my father, who will ask me if my wife is next to me and warns me that he will be telling me something that I will consider as bad news. And I should be calm and take my time in passing that news to my wife about her father's death. The next morning, being a weekend, we were sleeping late as the phone rang, and I was scared that what I thought the night before may be coming as the truth. My father was on the line, and exactly what I suspected about the conversation with my father happened. Thank you, Basil. And to that, I would say that after 12 years of not mentioning Lebanon as a place he would like to go to, my father in 1992 insisted that he would be, or he would like to be in Lebanon the last week of Ramadan in 1992. And when I went, to make this story short, to bid him farewell, because I was on my way to Ottawa, and again, we were newly wed with my wife. I looked at her in the car when we were on the 401 near Woodstock, and the tears were going on my cheek, and I said, you know, I have a feeling that I saw my father for the last time. And the night that my brother Bahij called me to tell me that my father passed away, when the phone rang, I knew exactly what he was going to say to me. They tried to break the news softly, and they started to say, I know that Adham's father, I know where Adham is. Adham's father was on the line first, and he said, Munir, I have a toothache and I want you to go to see me. It was 4:30 in the morning. I said, Yusuf, did my father pass away? I knew it. The souls, جنود مجندة. الأرواح جنود مجندة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will let us experience these kind of things. But you've got to really appreciate these things. So let us start the story and see, how does the souls come to the bodies? How do the bodies start to form in the wombs of our mothers? How did the Quran describe that most miraculous event that only until the 18th century, scholars used to believe that in the sperm there is a miniature human being, very small, that when the sperm touches the fluid of the egg of the mother, it gets activated and then it starts to grow. Others gave a different theory. They said, no, that miniature human being is in the egg itself, but when the sperm comes and touches the wall of that egg, it activates it, and then the baby grows in the womb of the mother. Until the 1700s, that's what they believed. What did the Quran say about how we are created in the wombs of our mothers? In Surah Al-Mu'minun, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا. It didn't say ثم خلقنا العلقة مضغة. It said no. ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. We will find very shortly that the difference between ثم and fa is a big difference, as we will find out. Thumma implies a certain slowness or a certain period where there is a waiting period. Thumma implies that two things happened. One happened, then there was a waiting period, and then the other thing followed. Fa means there is no stoppage. One thing is happening after the other. Fa, 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 fa. How do we translate it? Allah says, we have created humans from a sulala. Sulala in the Arabic language has two meanings. Or I should say three meanings. Three meanings exactly. One of them is lineage. The second one is a part of a whole. The third meaning is a fish with a long tail. Can we start to see how all three are in the word sulala, and it can't mean anything but sulala. Thumma, after it was from the elements of earth, we made the formation of humans in the womb from a drop of fluid. Nutfa means a drop of fluid. في قرار مكين, in a firm lodging, that is the womb, very firm. No matter how the mother plays exercises and jumps in the beginning, it's firm, nothing happens to it. It's embedded in the womb, as we will find out. Thumma, there is a period of 6 days in the beginning where there's nothing happening. And then after that, there is a period of about 24 days where there's very little happening. And then after that, things boom, 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 one after the other. It says after that, we changed the drop of fluid into a clinging mass, alaqa. And then alaqa has another meaning, which is a leech. And those who look at the shape of the embryo at when it is about 24 days, it's exactly like a leech, if we don't want to consider the clinging mass. And then we transform the leech or the clinging mass into a chewed up bolus, mudgha. That's exactly how it looks. And then after that, we started to make it into a skeleton of bones. And then we covered the bones with muscles. Scientists used to believe that the bones and the muscles form at the same time. But recently they discovered that first the bones form and then the muscles start to form around them. فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. As we will find out, at the same day that Rasulullah ﷺ told us, 42 days reported by Muslim in the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ, he mentioned that all the organs started to form. And the scientists, embryologists said that when it is 42 days, the period of organogenesis starts. 42 days, not 41, not 43, 42 days. And we will find out that the process called gametogenesis, or the differentiation into a male and female. I will talk about differentiation because we will find out that the gender is determined at the time of fertilization, as the Quran says. But the gender or the sex of the newly born is determined in 3 stages. One of them at the time of fertilization, and the other time is at the time of gametogenesis, when you start to find out whether it is a male or a female. And we will find a hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ that is, it leaves no room for a shaken faith. No room. That man who lived in Arabia and never went to a school of embryology, let alone has a degree in science, let alone went to school just at all. We will find all of that. ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. خَلْقًا آخَرَ, as we will find in Surah Al-Hajj, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the mudghah, مُخَلَّقَةٍ وَغَيْرِ مُخَلَّقَةٍ, differentiated and undifferentiated. As those who are in the medical field will understand what differentiated or undifferentiated mean. فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. Now, let us talk about the drop of fluid. Why it is a drop of fluid, a nutfa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Qiyamah, أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يُتْرَكَ سُدًى. Or would humans think that they will be let to have their lives go to waste? Do you really like to believe that your life that started in the way that Allah describes in the Quran and His Messenger in the Hadith, that this great life will go to waste? أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يُتْرَكَ سُدًى what is the reminder about this argument? ألم يكن نطفة من مني يمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى. Scholars say that whenever you read this, you should say in your heart, بلى قادر, without knowing that, or without feeling or saying that it is part of the Quran. It is not. Because this question, you should say, بلى قادر أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى. Look at this. Now, two things. Now, the first conclusion and second conclusion, science in the making. Look at this. Culturally, and especially we know among Arabs, I know, in the Far East, whenever someone is married and his wife did not give him